So good afternoon again to all of you. And the title of this panel is What's Next? So I guess that's pretty fitting. Let me quickly introduce the panelists. So to my left is Nico Bunnemann. So you are the managing partner of AL Capital Holding. Protest if I do it wrongly in any way. Next, Christian Rychly, Managing Director, MPC Capital AG and COO MPC Container Ships. Nicolaus Oldendorff, Co-owner and Managing Director, Reederei North. Yes. And last not least, Andreas Bergmann, you are the CEO and partner at UNIATLANTICO Shipping GmbH and Company KG.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Right. So let's get started. So we heard from Mr. Hartmann during the midday that German shipping really has gone through a significant transition over the past 10 years. Maybe a few more years. And there are, as we have heard throughout the day, significant shifts in geopolitics, in markets, ownership to new technologies and regulations. And I think this goes to every one of you on the panel. So how would you describe German shipping's position today, and what have been the key forces driving the change that we have seen? Would you like to start us off, Nico?
Sure, yeah. Well, I think the German shipping is in a much healthier state than probably everyone would have thought some 6-7 years ago. And it has shrunk from the 2000 booms, but it has changed, adapted, and if you look at purely the number of ships, it's about 2,000 ships, a little bit less than where we were 25 years ago. So I think the German shipping scene is much healthier, more professional, more also prudent, and more accountable on how the business is being conducted. And in fact, looking back, I think, of course, you have a lot bigger players these days than some 10-15 years ago. So there has been some consolidation. But many of the older names which had been around pre-2000 are still around. And the many of the kind of new participants who rose in the boom times have disappeared again. So I think that we have a solid basis. We also have innovation amongst the players, but of course we have to stay agile and adapt to the many changes, especially when it comes to regulation. And I think to a certain degree, diversification for many of the German owners has played an increasing role. But and we have also done that, coming from mainly container ship owning, having now roughly 40% of our fleet is in containers, 40 is in dry, and 20 in product tankers. And I think that's the game, at least for us, and probably that's also my recommendation to the German shipping community to diversify more, because we will certainly see crisis in these segments again, and to weather these storms, my take is it's best to be invested through different segments. That makes it a lot easier, and of course to have a strong capital base, which generally is not only in Germany but also with the German owners the case these days.
Thank you, Christian. Do you agree? Diversity, agility, and a strong capital base?
Absolutely. I can echo the words Nicolaus just said. Quite a comprehensive answer. Nonetheless, maybe two things I can add to that. The first one is it's not about Germany alone. We are headquartered here, no doubt, but we all have different shareholder bases. I can speak for MPC Container Ships, certainly foreign shareholders, foreign capital, foreign equity, foreign debt, the majority of what we do. If I look right and left here, certainly we all have offices in Asia. Shipping is inherently global, you all know that. And the same goes for us. We're doing this out of Germany, but I think our international presence has grown significantly over the last couple of years, and we have opened up to a degree which hasn't been seen in the past. And the second one, which may have to do with the way we communicate, all of us today and in these days, or has changed the communication the last couple of years. The people here in the room, but also again on the panel right left to me, we are talking a lot more with each other compared to when I look at the previous generation. They were talking a lot about each other, and that's certainly an advantage and has also to do with the challenges we have.
Nicolaus, please.
Yeah, well, I can also only agree to all of this, and maybe also add that other than other shipping capitals around the world like Athens or Singapore, this place basically has been transformed by the crisis. I still remember I came from university, and every Tuesday we have our chartering meeting, and our chartering manager for 11 years basically told me, when I asked him, when is the improvement coming? He basically said, we were in probably March at that time, he's cautiously optimistic for next year. So psychologically this changes a lot, and of course also the people here on the panel have changed. There's a change of the guard in Hamburg. A lot of people have retired, so I think this is a learning process we had to learn. And the old timers who were there, they were probably more risk takers. But yeah, well, what would I say? They didn't have to learn the hard lesson as we did in the case. So I would agree with everything. I think everything has changed. I was working for a German bank at the time doing loans. Also before the shipping crisis, and everything was basically done in Hamburg. But these days we have Scandinavian banks, our equity comes from the US or Netherlands. Everything has become more professional. In former times here in Hamburg, you could do everything within the city. But that has changed, and I think that's for the best.
Excellent. Andreas, please.
Yeah, I think, Nicolaus, also what you were saying, this is what I also totally agree. I think looking back 10 years, UNIATLANTICO, we have developed as a company here based in Hamburg as a German ship owner, coming from the operator structure, entering the market into ownership, basically. That has showed us how the market has changed over these 10 years. And I must really say, indeed, it is quite smarter and much more professional and definitely much more global and international. The access to equity certainly is also for us the demand to go not next door, but beyond the borders. And that is clearly the road we have seen over the last 10 years. Clearly, we have seen a lot of challenges, but I also think that the transition helped that companies develop differently. And I'm seeing it with UNIATLANTICO. We are not typically a ship owner coming from the investment perspective of owning one ship and operating this ship. It is our concept was basically to create an integrated shipping company, which includes the commercial operation of it. Yeah, and it's not that many of the panelists said before the best deal would be to have a new building with a 5 years charter, which is great. We live basically from the commercial operation every day, and that I think is something which we've seen in German ship owning or in German shipping market nowadays. That we see more and more operators become owners, and that's clearly a transformation.
Great insights. Thank you very much. So we heard throughout the day a couple of references to the IMO's net zero framework vote and what happened in London. I will also touch upon that with all of you. And you all mentioned that the German shipping cluster have changed over this time. Is there any sort of specialities that coming out of that decision in London would affect the German strategies, German ship owning strategies going forward? We could start with Andreas and have a bit of...
Yeah, okay. I think on this particular question, I think we should not look at it too locally, because at this question, certainly we have to look at the operation of our vessels, and that is not related to being a German ship owner or being a Danish ship owner. or being someone from somewhere elsewhere. It's about the trading pattern, and that clearly is a decision which also we regret because we are facing the cost, and this regulation is just missing. And what we need to have basically is competitiveness through efficiency, but we also need to have a framework, and this framework can be only given when we are in international trade, when we have the same play field or the same rules for everyone. And that's certainly for an operator a disadvantage, and for the climate as well. But from my perspective, it was also to be seen and not totally unexpected, to be quite honest.
All right. Very good. Nicolaus, please.
Well, I would say actually in the short term at least, I think nothing does really change because the orders which have been placed in Korea, China and Japan, they are there. The order book is there to stay. The yards are closed basically until 2028. So in the short term, I think nothing changes, but I think we'll have to do a rethink of the grand ambitions a lot of parties had here about green methanol or green ammonia. Yesterday I had a quick look at the bunkering infrastructure of green ammonia, and I was surprised. There's no ammonia ship operating, and there's one on order. Methanol bunkering ships I think 4 to 6 are operational, and there are some on order as well. But just to give you a scale, basically the port of Singapore has 214 bunker barges. So this will have, of course, in the long term, a huge implication because if the framework isn't adapted, all this infrastructure will not be built and will be falling back to the old infrastructure. So in the short term, I don't think that it has a big effect. In the long term, if it's not rectified next year, I do think that it has a big effect on the decarbonization pathways which engine manufacturers, classification societies have envisaged. So that's the short answer.
Yeah. Do you expect it to be rectified next year?
I mean, before IMO, actually, I think everybody was following the process closely. When they listened to the American position coming out, there was a wish list. And the wish list was very much geared to LNG and biofuels. So I think if it comes, actually, we will see two things. First of all, we see the more stronger incorporation of LNG, more biofuels. And I was very surprised when they came with the costs of the IMO ETS that was actually higher than ETS at the time. So realistically speaking, when we should get the Americans board, I think the prices will be comparable, if not lower. And that would again phase out a lot of special fuels like green ammonia and green methanol. So it's a tricky one.
Yes, it is indeed.
So yeah, I think it will depend if somebody goes to Washington and asks, what are your wishes? What do you want to incorporate here?
Let's check if Christian has answers to this.
Sure. Short term, it will definitely have an impact. I think everything we see on the demand side, when we look at tenders from liner companies, etc., that's back to non-dual fuel, back to conventional ships with all kind of ready concepts, which we're used to. Unfortunately, history, it's repeating itself here again, and that's the sad part of it. There is no first mover advantage in our industry, and you always have that risk of investing in capital intensive assets, and eventually regulation at whatever stage it is or whatever geographical sphere you look at is eventually not adapted. We had that before. We had that in ballast water treatment systems. We look at it in scrubbers. We have it everywhere. And the track record of the IMO, which has been severely damaged now, I think, is certainly one of the biggest casualties here. So I'm very skeptical if we do actually see something being adopted next year. What I do know, however, is that the regional regulation will not pause. I don't see Fuel EU ETS disappearing anytime soon. I actually do see the opposite. We all heard UK announcing. We know China is looking at it. China has anyhow already the largest emission trading system in the world. Just shipping is not included, so it's an easy one to do that. The US is contemplating about things. So regional regulation will stay. It will make things even more complicated for us. But it will also create opportunities in certain regional trades. And if I look at our industry, if I look at container shipping for the next couple of years, I expect it to be quite an unstable period. And in certain regions, in certain regional trades, you will still see opportunities created by completely uneven regulation.
Nico, please.
Yeah, I think the regional, what Christian just said, the regional kind of initiatives are what we all will have to focus a lot on, and which will take a lot of our resources going forward. I would have welcomed a global level playing agreement because it would have made life a lot easier. But for coming back to your question on the German or the implications for the German owners, I think it's we are all quite good in adopting these the regulation and working with it. I mean, no one of us really likes to do it, but I think comparing to many other ship-owning nations, we do actually get our act together and are good in these things. So I think that's also an opportunity. My personal view is there will not be a global zero net framework as long as Donald Trump stays president. So I won't see it next year. Of course, it also means for all of us that we will just continue looking for the least regretting technologies and fuels when it comes to new investments. For now, I think as a tonnage provider, and though most of us, except for Andreas, who is an operator, we of course very much rely on the fuels our charterers want to use, and that's why we as a company we decided many years ago to invest heavily into new buildings, into building, renewing the fleet, having a very economic, the most modern designs, thereby reduce the consumption, and of course also a lot of retrofit projects. That's probably how it will just play out for the next few years.
Great insights. Just building a little bit on what you all have said. So, given that there will be more regional regulations, would you and German shipping companies be in a better position since you know how the EU ETS and fuel EU Maritime works, and it's quite likely that regions might copy some of these systems? It's a little bit off the script, but if anyone has any views on that.
I think it's a very good question. I was once discussing with a Greek ship owner this, and we were basically discussing the scenario that the world splinters, like basically you've seen already with the internet. So Chinese internet is blocked off, Russian is blocked off, and of course in the Western we have something similar. So his take was basically this is going to also happen with the physical world. And I said, probably you're right, and it might actually happen with environmental regulations. So I think there will be places in the world where you have dual fuel ships, where you have an advantage over let's say old tonnage, but there is also the flip side. Basically, you'll also have the rest of the world where you have no regulation. There are cheap ships out there, and they will have the upper hand because they can just go lower than you can because you have a higher purchasing price in the end. So I think the idea of having a two-tier market and having markets where some ships were built for a special purpose, I think this could actually happen very well. So actually, I think we're going directly in that direction. So,
I think from my perspective, from the cargo side, I think it's much more also not only a shipping question, it's also a question for our manufacturing industry. I think Europe is in a way not competitive with these additional costs, and that is making us also life difficult in shipping when exporting from Europe or when having port calls from the loading port or the discharge port in the EU. So I think that drives quite the flows of trade lanes. And there we have to be adaptive. We have to adapt to new trade lanes. We have to be very flexible in this matter. And I think that's the challenge we are facing right now. And
I just talked to Nico in the break, and he basically recommended that I should probably install True Social to be able to run with the company. But that's really the problem.
That was a joke.
Right? I know it was, but there is a reality behind it. And the reality is that I have to look at the tweet du jour and to find out what I have to do next, right? And what's probably going to happen. And I think there's no advantage to be in Germany, or there's no different wisdom here. It's the reality is that, and you mentioned that before, there are these things which eventually provide the reality, and it does actually influence our business. We have, it's also not a secret, we're talking to our liner companies on a daily basis, and we have been asked not to use Chinese lease as a financing instrument, which makes total sense from a liner company's perspective. We have customers asking us, when we look at new building projects, not to include certain state-owned yards, which are also exposed to military projects in China. So all that makes complete sense. It's unfortunately the new reality, and it makes things a lot more inefficient and complicated. But fortunately for everyone, not only for Germans.
And inefficiency is not always a bad thing, is it?
No.
All right. But there is a lot of, say, dynamics in the trading routes, the trade patterns, and how are you dealing with all of that? It must be, very challenging from an operational point of view. Nico, please.
I think, yes, there is a lot going on, but maybe sometimes better just to sleep another few nights over it, and then things have changed again. And they're back to where we started off. No, but I mean, if you mean like geopolitical events, of course that's something I think which has always been the case in shipping, that you really need to be on top of the developments, and I think that's also what our industry. One of the reasons why I really like the industry, because it is so geopolitical. It is so it is very quickly evolving and very related to global events. So it will stay like that. Tariffs, if you look at, geopolitical sanctions, of course, it adds a lot of admin burden to us and restricts us in certain matters. But as you say, inefficiencies are usually good for shipping. So it's after all not that bad. Tariffs, we haven't really seen such a big effect of tariffs on our trades. So far so good, I would say. We spend more time on these matters, but I think not so much has actually changed.
So have some ice in the stomach is a good recipe. Andreas, please.
I must say, looking again in the previous question, how has the shipping developed over 10 years? I think the speed went up much more. I think these implementations we have seen over the last few years now is much faster speed than ever before. The fuel was never a problem for many, many years. Now we have these implementations of different European schemes, but also international schemes, ticking in very quickly. So it really requires our operational teams, our legal teams, to adopt to these kind of changes and make it also happen that our clients are understanding what they're going to pay for in shipping. And I think that we have proved as German companies, I would say, but also as European companies quite well. And maybe this is also what other countries or nations are afraid, and maybe that's what they have to see first, how really it's been done in Europe, and maybe it's a positive sign as well that they see it's been appreciated, because now it's possible to talk with cargo clients and make them understand that they have to pay for CO2 footprint, basically, and that's what we have achieved in a relatively short time. I think that's a success.
Great. Nikolaus?
I would go on a leg here, but I think actually shipping has always had a lot of problems to solve. So when I remember back, we had pirates in the Red Sea. I still remember basically when we had a ship in front of West Africa when there was an Ebola outbreak. I think actually shipping and shipping companies are used to a lot of problems that they have to solve quickly. And this is just another problem. So yeah, it has great implications, but also like Christian has said, the characteristics of the last crisis was that they actually get resolved sometime. And looking at the Israel-Iran conflict, I still remember everybody was talking and tweeting to me, and the Strait of Hormuz, will this come under attack now? Not a single barrel of oil was lost, and it was resolved in a week, 1.5 weeks. So I think shipping has the ability to solve crises and problems, and this is just one of the few.
Yeah. Christian, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, everything has been said. Maybe it remains what has also been mentioned at the panel before us. It's about portfolio flexibility at the end of the day. It's about not putting all your eggs in one basket, not building all your ships in China to the extent that's actually possible, to China itself, and try to keep different nationalities of crews, of flags, of everything. So that's the only recipe at the moment.
So this morning, in the brief introduction to the day, I said that geopolitics, regulation, and technology was really affecting and impacting the markets. And turning now to technology, we've talked a lot about digital tools, about data analytics. We also heard that throughout the day. And not least also connectivity. And if I look across the different sectors, and it really has a different pace of adoption. And I would be quite interested to have your views on, we hear a lot about artificial intelligence. Can we get to a stage where we can use that to do more data-driven operations, or are shipping still very much an analog business and we're running it the way we always used to? Nicolaus, you look like you have an answer.
I think that's a good topic. The answer, I think, depends very much on the composition of your company and the age groups. There are some guys out there, they're very much in their routines and their ways. And if you come around with a new digital product, they would say, man, don't need it. Got a telephone, got an email. You see that? Don't need more than that. If you have younger crews, of course, they would always be open for this because, I mean, when they go out of the office, they have WhatsApp, they have all these technical tools, and they will be asking for this. So I guess we are in the midst of transitioning to this new world. But my experience is always ship owners love to spend millions on ships, but they're quite stingy on software. So maybe this must change before that. And I think there are some AI tools which are quite interesting right now. We have a lot of documentation on board, so getting the right information quickly is something which we do need. But I'm still looking for this world-changing AI. If I was thinking about the question, and then I thought maybe we need better weather prediction or something like that. That would help a lot. The next drone ship, I don't see it right now, but we're getting there. But it's again a slow progress, and depends on who you have employed.
I'm definitely not stingy on software or AI. Actually, I think it's a massive game changer, and we use it and we roll it out and we have it on board of the ships. And back to what Nicolaus said is, I think the first one is really, and that's super easy. It's when you look at all your handbooks, manuals, etc. Use a simple chatbot and empower the people that actually just ask a question and get an answer. Exactly. And that's super easy, and that's not everyone should be doing this. We have. I agree also in terms of implementation, that's a challenging one. We have started to install cameras on board of the ship. You start with the first 10, 15 cameras on board of each ship, and obviously no one's looking at the footage. You have an AI going over this. But when masters figure out that there was an unattended bridge for some time, or that people constantly not wear helmets when they somewhere on the ship, it gives you an alarm, it gives you more data, it actually enables a proper discussion. And we have used it in different officer meetings and shown the people what has been detected, etc. And it did actually help. And I think it's a massive advancement in terms of safety, crew well-being, etc. And we should do that. And what's also being worked on, everyone is aware of that. And when you talk to our engine partners, preventive maintenance by AI, we have cameras, heat sensors on them, etc. Same one, big advancement, and it actually helps us to prevent off-hire. And this is the most important KPIs vis-à-vis our customer. So yes, absolutely in.
Yeah. Andreas, please.
Oh, well, I think AI won't replace seamanship. That is what we still have on board, actually. But it helps to make decisions right. And again, coming from a little bit different angle than most of my other parts of the panel, looking from the commercial side, we are tracing cargoes. We have a lot of data, obviously, and it clearly helps us to make decisions and benefit from our data, which we are collecting. If I can maybe explain something in good old days, a short sea ship owner was saying, "Oh, I have a gut feeling there is storm in the Biscay Bay. Next week we will have Titan tonnage in Rotterdam, and we will get a good freight rate with our ship in Rotterdam." Basically, actually, this was good gut feeling basically of this senior broker basically. But through AI, it is possible to obtain this data instantly and make it available to the whole team. I think that's quite useful, and this is already what we are implementing and starting to gain and harvest success from.
Great. Nico, now it's your turn. You've been very patiently waiting.
Thank you. I think it's first of all, I think it's great to be working in an industry which for sure will not be replaced by AI. Things will need to be transported, and so I think we should really make use of the development in improving, as Christian also said, safety record, improving the quality of how we operate, reducing our emissions. So there's huge potential to implement AI in the shipping business as in any other business, but it will not lead to us being displaced. And we do use it already. I think we can, probably all of us, but at least for us, I can say we can probably do a lot more. We have been building our in-house AI agents, also for certain maintenance work and information advice to the crew. And of course, I think it's by now probably it's pretty standard that tools like Copilot are being used in the office. I very much look forward to kind of the future with AI, but it has to be also carefully managed, and of course we need to make sure that everyone in the company is also brought on the same voyage of implementing AI, and of course there's always the fear that people or jobs are being replaced. I think through AI, speed and how we act, the speed will increase, the efficiency will increase, hopefully we will be operating more safely and at a higher quality level.
Great. We are getting close to the last question now. If I think about German shipping, it has been known for its technical excellence, for family-owned resilience in many ways. If you representing the next generation of German ship owners and you look towards the end of the 2030s, what would you highlight as some of the, say, advantages or strong points of German ship owning? Maybe we could start with you, Christian. You haven't been first for a round.
Not only for Germany, but maybe very relevant in Europe is first one on my agenda would definitely be fuel flexible fleets. You need to be able to operate ships on different fuels, I mentioned it before, European regulation will not go away. I don't see that happening. And we all know the prices. We know how they will be increasing over the next coming years, and couple of years. And that will be very, very relevant going forward. I think you have an advantage if you are, as an owner, able to price carbon correctly. If you are, as an owner, able to build in or agree with your charterers a good security policy agreement on, and what's actually policy risk agreement, what's actually happening there, because that's more and more relevant going forward. And these are things, if you're good at these things, then definitely you have an advantage, and that's something we're good at. Yeah.
Great. Nicolaus?
I would say that actually we're in a lot better position than we were 20 years ago, and I'm actually very happy that we see that shipping in Hamburg has become, I wouldn't say sexy, but interesting again. That helps us a lot with retaining good personnel. And again, the biggest problem during the 10 years of crisis was actually that nobody actually wanted to join shipping anymore. And I think going forward, it would be very important, also because of demographics, to have good personnel here to employ the ships. And like I said, you can put a lot of AI on your in your company. In the end, you need a good chartering manager who is able to read and digest that information and take the right decision. So in the end, I think one of the biggest assets we have now is that we can get the people, and we will, of course, have to train these people. But then I think you have a bright future. In the end, probably not only having a good fleet is very important, but also having very good staff at home. So, and I think we're in a good position there.
Great. Andreas, anything to add?
I think, German shipping cluster is diversified. I think that's also very important to say. I think it's less dependency from just one sector, much more open-minded for alternatives and different concepts of the shipping companies. Yes, and I think looking forward, I think it's to stay dynamic, to stay adaptive. I think we've seen how many changes are coming, and we stay at the same pace ahead. And I think also partnership value. I think that is also one part which we missed a little bit. I think, yes, we've seen consolidation, mergers and acquisitions, but I think there's also another way. There's also partnership levels. I think Nicolaus said it earlier before. It's that the community speaks closer together, and I think that helps to be more strong together. And I think that is what the German shipping cluster stands for nowadays, and hopefully also for the next years ahead.
Great. Nico, you have the opportunity now to really form this answer in your
high expectations. Knut, thank you. I think it was said that, and in my view is also, we can't really look at Germany as, of course, the panel is on Germany, but to us also operating the majority of our business out of Singapore, we have the comparison, and in that sense, to what Nikolaus said, I think the perception of shipping in Singapore and the young talent, to attract young talent, is easier in Singapore to us than in Hamburg or in Germany. And that's a certain concern we have to find to attract and motivate the talent to work in such a global business, which is not 9 to 5, to be traveling a lot, even if you have families. And I think at the end you need a passion for this business. Otherwise you can't, because it's quite intensive. So if that remains, I think we will continue. If we can attract these talents, then we will continue to have a strong shipping cluster here in Germany. We all have to, and we all do train and do these apprenticeships and have other initiatives to train the people. But I think at the end, and that's the recipe for us, is to have a strong presence here, but also have Singapore as a base, and we have a few other offices around the world, and have also on that side a diversified office base to attract global talent and not local talent.
Great insights. So to sum up, the future is bright. Don't be stingy on software. And do give these great panelists a hand and a great applause. Thank you.